While the writing section of the PSAT, and the SAT for that matter, is really content heavy, there are a few things that you can remember when studying for the writing section of the PSAT and while taking it. The first, avoid long and wordy answer choices. Well, what do I mean by this? Let's take a look at a few examples. Now, you're not going to see sentences like this in the PSAT, but what you are going to see is improving sentence questions or identifying errors that contain some of the same concepts. What you want to do is you want to make sure that the answer choice that you select isn't wordy or redundant. Now, we may speak like this in our everyday lives, but on the SAT and the PSAT, it's not really correct. Let's take a look at what I mean. In order to reduce the rate of criminal activity, the building will constantly be monitored at all times. Sounds okay, and technically it is, but there are a few things that you can do in order to make the sentence better. First, you can eliminate redundancy or wordiness. Let's see. Constantly means the same thing at all times. If we eliminated the words at all times, the sentence would still mean the same. Also, crime means the same thing as rate of criminal activity, same thing as crime. If you substituted the word crime for rate of criminal activity, the sentence would still be correct. Let's go ahead and read it. In order to reduce, and let me read the word "the" too. In order to reduce crime, the building will constantly be monitored. Makes sense. However, we could even go a step further. You could eliminate the words in order. Again, the sentence still makes sense. To reduce crime, the building will constantly be monitored. Now, it's short and it's sweet. And when you have answer choices that eliminate redundancy or wordiness, chances are they're going to be correct. Let's take a look at one more example. The award-winning typist's per minute typing speed reached up to 120 words per minute. Again, grammatically correct. It makes sense, but there's a better way that we could say it. Let's take a look. Well, we repeat the words per minute twice. So if you go ahead and eliminate this last one, per minute, words per minute, it actually still makes sense. The award-winning typist's per minute typing speed reached up to 120. Makes sense. Now, we also repeat the word typist and typing. Well, since she's a typist, we know that she's typing, right? What else would she be doing? Let's go ahead and reduce the word typing. So here we have the shortest and most concise way to say this sentence. The award-winning typist's per minute speed reached up to 120. Short, sweet, still makes sense, and is grammatically correct. If you see an answer choice that eliminates redundancy and wordiness in the writing section, choose it. It's going to be correct most of the time. The second strategy that you're going to want to know and remember is to read literally. Now, when we talk in everyday language, when we're not taking the PSAT, oftentimes we say things that when you read it literally or say it literally doesn't make sense. What do I mean by this? Let's take a look. Delightfully sweet, the bakery sold out of the cupcakes within 30 minutes. Well, sounds okay. But if you look at this part right here, which is actually technically called a modifier, the modifier describes the noun following it. So it says delightfully sweet, the bakery. Well, is the bakery delightfully sweet? No. What they're really talking about being delightfully sweet is the cupcakes. But when you read this literally, it doesn't make sense, even though when you talk in everyday language, you may say things like this all the time. Be really careful to read literally on not only the PSAT, but also the SAT. It's really going to help you out. The second thing, compared to last week, this week's weather is far more mild. I think I even said this morning. It sounds right. But what you're actually doing is you're comparing last week to this week's weather. You can't compare weather to a week or to time. It doesn't really quite make sense. But when you speak in everyday language, you say stuff like this. Be really careful to read something literally and to determine what the question is saying or what it's describing. It will really help you out. Do this with not only the answer choices, but with the question itself. Let's take a look at the third strategy that's really going to help. Reviewing your grammar rules. Now, this is painful. A lot of people just don't get grammar. I'm one of them. I'm not a grammar expert at all. But when you take the PSAT, if you're weak on some of the grammatical rules, it's really important to brush up. Some of the ones that occur most often are rules with pronoun reference, pronoun case, modifiers, parallelism, all those things that just make you cringe when you hear them. Pull out your textbook. Pull out the grammar book. Go ahead and just review those rules that show up the most often. The fourth and the final thing you can do when taking the writing section is to be comfortable with no change. Remember, No change is an answer choice approximately 20% of the time. Statistically, that also means that it's correct 20% of the time. People always think that there's a mistake when you're looking at the answer choices or answering the question, but that's not always the case. Be comfortable with it. Remember, it's going to show up and be correct about 20% of the time. So I know that the PSAT writing section can cause a lot of grief and people can get really stressed out about it. But remember, you can't lose when taking the PSAT. At the very least, you'll get a detailed report that will tell you which grammatical rules to brush up on, and you'll get great practice for taking the SAT. So do your best, remember these strategies, and you'll do great when you sit down to take the test.